I'm Charlie Zelli, and this is the Metro Blue Line Extension Corridor Management Committee. I almost have that memorized. August 8th. Good to see everyone. Why don't we just start the day as we always do, kind of introducing those at the table. We have a few alternates today, but it's good to see everybody on a beautiful day. And I always start with Irene.
That's not true. Sometimes
That's
we
not
start
always
with-
true. That's not
But I'm
always
happy
true,
to
but
start
today
today. Irene Fernando, Hennepin County Board.
Hi, Ely Farhan on behalf of Commissioner Green.
Dan Dorr, Business Advisory Committee.
Jay Strobel, City Manager, Brooklyn Park, on behalf of Mayor Winston.
Jim Adams, Mayor of Crystal.
Jeff Lundy, District 1, Hennepin County Commissioner.
Dr. Tara Watson, Business Advisory Committee.
Shua Salas, Blue Line Coalition member.
Meg Forney, Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board.
Ollie McCartney, MnDOT. I'm an alternate for Connie Sahijam.
Jonathan Hansen, Community Advisory Committee.
Rebecca Fabelman, here on the behalf of Mayor Jacob Fry.
Bill Blonigan, Robbinsdale Mayor.
Jeremiah Ellison, City of Minneapolis.
Met Council, District 7, Yasin Azman.
Leslie Kendaris, Metro Transit General Manager.
And Reva Chambliss, Met Council District 2.
Well, again, welcome, and it's good to see everybody in the audience as well as at the table. A few housekeeping reminders, as always. These mics are live, and we are streaming, and we are recording. So this is all for the public record. If you would like to see the handouts and the presentations, they will be posted on the project website, which is Blue Line EXT, that's all one word, bluelineext.org. And if you have any comments, say you're watching at home, feel free to submit comments to Nakango Sugolo, and you can do that until August 16th, and they will be on the website for the CMC's consideration. Nakango's email should be in the material. We're here today with three big subjects. They're the ones we're in the middle of, and we all know. The Supplemental Draft Environmental Impact Statement, the SDEIS, kind of just going through that period. It was a matter of a few days, so we don't have the full summary, but we're going to kind of hear a little bit about what those comments entail. And then, of course, we're going to get updates on the anti-displacement efforts, as well as the municipal consent process. So, as a reminder, we are not having public testimony at this meeting, and this is really during this period when we have a lot of public hearings and public process as part of both the SDEIS and the municipal consent. So, having said that, we have sent out minutes in advance from our meeting of July 18th, which seems like just the other day, but that was a few weeks ago. And if there is any edits, or corrections, additions, now's a good time. Ms. Forney.
Yes, sorry that I didn't, Chair Zelli, that I didn't note that I requested to know how many full property acquisitions there were, and Ms. Young was going to get back to me about it, and I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
If we have a report on that, that would be lovely at some point.
We'll make a note of that. If not today, we will get back to you and the
Really
full board.
appreciate it.
With that, any other comments? If not, there's a motion, a second to approve the minutes. Mayor.
I'll second.
Yep.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Those minutes are approved. And before we kind of move on to the agenda, we had a really big day yesterday. We had a tour with Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and we had a chance to kind of view the whole Blue Line routing, and a number of us were in the meeting. It was a great opportunity to not just show it off, but frankly another chance for us to be together. And we heard from a number of people along the way, including Mayor Blonigan and Commissioner Fernando. Any comments, anybody? And
Yeah.
Viva, you were there?
Sure, I can start. It was a really energizing tour. Again, of course, Mayor, council member, a number of staff and others were there to see the alignment again and again, just allows you to notice kind of different perspectives and can place the different proposals. And so I think that was really meaningful. We were also able to talk anti-displacement with the Congresswoman, and she seemed very enthusiastic about the updates and was also heartened to hear about the FTA and committee updates that we've done in DC. So the US House and US Senate committee chair updates. So I thought it was a very energizing experience. She had a lot of, she was able to remember previous tours and say, oh wait, isn't that a little bit different? Which I thought was really, really exciting. And it's always good for, Mayor Blonigan to give his plugs in person, and a lot of us had time on the mic. It was cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
great. Yeah. You have
Yeah,
anything?
it was a great time. We went and toured the Brooklyn Park portion of the Blue Line Extension Corridor. It was nice to be able to share some of the insights that I've had in my involvement over the years with the Blue Line, and to hear from the mayor and Congresswoman, as well as others, as far as their perspectives and their interests and their needs.
Mayor?
Commissioner Fernando is correct. Representative Omar had an intimate street-by-street knowledge, especially in Minneapolis, of how things have changed and why they are the way they are. So feel free to write to her. She'll know.
It's really gratifying to know that not only does this have the attention, but it's a very detailed attention from our federal delegation. Yeah, absolutely. Commissioner, you were there at the beginning.
Yeah, I was there at the beginning, but I just want to thank all people in Met Council and Met Transit for hosting that tour. I think it's important. I know Congressman Omar and our entire congressional federal delegation have been spreading the good word at the FTA and in DC about our, I would call it, nation-leading efforts on anti-displacement, and really making sure that which is the first of its kind, is getting attention so that we can get hopefully first of its kind money sent back this way. I'm greedy. So I just wanted to say that those things help that process. And lastly, I'll just say my intern, Najma, is still walking, I think at about 20,000 feet right now, for being able to go on the tour and meet the
that's great.
Congresswoman. So thank you.
Great. Well, we have a lot of information today, so I want to get to it. But first, we have the CAC, the BAC, the Community and Business Advisory Committees, and I don't know if Dr. Watson or is Jason here? Yeah. Or Dan?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Is it okay if I start first?
Sure, please.
Okay.
Yeah, jump in.
So a few things came out of our BMC meeting, and there were some concerns about process. So I'll just kind of go through some of the items that some of the BAC members brought forward. One of the things was there wasn't a process for issues that are not design related, and there was a desire to have something there in a platform that people could voice those issues and concerns that are not design related. It wasn't clearly communicated anywhere, and so again, that process. Another item was that members felt that the municipal consent process was very engineer-driven, and that was there a process for non-design elements to be addressed along with actual requirements for the municipal consent. Another thing that members desired and felt needed to be brought forward was this CMC board is basically the governing body for the project, in terms of when people look at it and see where all the key players are, we all come together here, well, you all come together here and meet here and discuss the project. They desire to maximize the power of the board and the use of the board, and how else can all the people involved be in one space and place so that we could maximize and kind of maximize the power of the board. So there was requests for a few things. One of the things would be that somehow, because we meet, but the desire was that it could potentially morph into a working board or a board where more things could take place using this platform. So I'm not probably articulating it well, but this was just kind of the conversation and communication. They just wanted to see more out of the board, and creating it as we continue to go along with the project, that we utilize it better so that the needs of the community and people that are affected by the alignment are met. Then one of the other things that was brought forward was the need for coordination. So there were members that felt like we have the four groups of government and how those groups needed to do something meaningful. Like there was a lack of leadership and coordination of the leading players. So everybody's doing something different, but that coordinated effort, there's a desire for that to be stronger and a coordinated strategy going forward. I believe, and then one of the other action items that came out of our meeting is that the BMC wanted to have a meeting with the anti-displacement work group so that we could be intentional about what the needs are of the businesses, and felt that that would be the best place for that to happen. And that is all
Great.
that I have that are highlight points. I mean, we do have our business advisory meeting summary.
Great, thank you. That was just from the meetings earlier this week.
Yes.
Yeah, great, thanks. Are there any other comments, questions for Dr. Watson? I appreciate that feedback.
Thank you.
That was the Business Advisory Committee. Is there representatives from the Community Advisory Committee? I think
Yes.
oh yeah, here you are. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jonathan Hansen, CAC member. We
Great.
had our meeting last night, and we spoke about the comment period for the SDEIS and just the number of impressions and responses that were provided for that. We spoke about some of the need to dispel some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been cropping up from different circles about this project. There's a lot of information there's a lot of things that are being put out there that simply are not true. And, so the need to really dispel those. So that's been a big issue. I know we heard about the upcoming report that's coming out next week about anti-displacement efforts. So really interested in seeing those, because that's obviously a huge concern to the businesses and residents.
Right. Yeah, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Any more comments or questions on the BAC and the CAC? All right, well, thanks again for those reports. Let's get into, and maybe this may even answer some of these questions that are raised. The SDEIS process has been marching along and closed on the 6th, National Night Out. Kelsey Young, bring us up to speed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. Yes, our comment period officially closed on Tuesday evening, and we have a summary here today of the comments received. Of course, we are still working through and digesting these comments fully, but we want to thank everyone who took the time to get familiar with the supplemental draft EIS and submitted their comments. We have a total of 251 comments. As we slice and dice the various commenting methods, we may see that official number adjust a little bit, but in the ballpark of 251 comments, including comments from all of the corridor cities, as well as other agencies, including the DNR, the EPA, the Department of Interior. And we do anticipate getting comments from the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. They did ask FTA to allow them to submit their comments a few days late. So we do plan to incorporate those comments into our comment record. We also received comments from a number of community organizations and other parties, including many of the entities and organizations represented here at this table. And so again, want to thank everyone who took the time to put their comments in record. Many of the comments are recurring themes that we've been hearing about, but we're really encouraged to see that people did put in that effort to get things officially on the record. And of course, that's important for the Federal Transit Administration to also see those comments officially on record and under consideration in this particular lens. Of course, the comment period just closed a few days ago, but we do plan to gather up the comments and provide them so people can see what other people commented about. And so we'll plan to do that here. Some themes that we heard, as is common during an environmental review comment period, we heard many commenters voicing either support or opposition to the project, including voicing specific concerns about the project. We heard a number of ideas and requests related to project mitigation, particularly in the realm of anti-displacement and consideration of specific mitigation items that are called out in the supplemental draft EIS as the negative impacts, and also ways that we can continue to look to maximize the benefits of this transit investment. Of course, there's a number of specific topic area or geographic area concerns that people wrote in about, including, considerations of safety around transit, concerns about specific natural resource impacts, as well as the project cost of the light rail investment. One theme that we did hear related to the project purpose and need is support for light rail expansion. That included both, commenters within the project corridor as well as in the region as a whole. So we will continue to work to digest these comments, and some commenters, there may be a need for follow-up, of course, with our city and agency partners. We have avenues for continued coordination there. If there are things that require follow-up conversations about, particularly as it relates to the project design. Of course, we also have the municipal consent process ongoing now too, which is related to the project design, but specific to the comments that we got on the SDEIS, we know that we have work ahead of us as well as we look to develop the supplemental final environmental impact statement. So those comments that we're receiving are absolutely informing our next steps. Other pieces of our analysis for the supplemental final environmental impact statement is a supplemental analysis for design changes. The SDEIS was prepared based on an earlier phase of design, and of course the design has continued to advance, and as we're getting comments during the municipal consent process and anticipating how cities may respond, the supplemental final EIS will include that updated analysis reflecting any changes in the design since the SDEIS was published. And of course, consideration of all the comments received. We will be formally responding to comments in the supplemental final EIS, but of course we will make follow up with commenting organizations or our city and agency partners in the meantime to inform our development of the supplemental final. A piece that we have gotten lots of questions about is how we go about defining our mitigation commitments within the supplemental final EIS. And so you will see our project team moving forward on a mitigation work plan. We will be out in community talking about our mitigation commitments here this fall. And just to provide some context of what those different strategies are to define mitigation. In some cases, mitigation needs to be informed by additional technical analysis. So to take an example, we're doing some additional noise and vibration monitoring and testing here this fall that will inform needs for noise and vibration mitigation. And that's more of a technical realm. We know that we have a number of topic areas where we will need to do additional outreach. We heard lots of great feedback about specific project mitigation that we should consider, and we'll need to go back out into community to verify, those priorities and preferred pathways, kind of giving people more things to respond to, and doing outreach in the affected communities. And then some mitigation is related to continued design development. For example, public realm improvements and streetscaping. Those are pieces that we will continue to work on as our design advances. And so within the supplemental final, we will have more firmed up mitigation commitments, but you'll also see that our mitigation commitments will need to continue on into the implementation phase even after the supplemental final EIS. We expect that we'll have mitigation commitments that are both applicable to the design development as well as during construction, and then tied to the period of before revenue service begins. So potentially covering all of those periods of time. And so what you'll see us talking about this fall is more related to those initial commitments and how they are framed in the supplemental final. And then that work will carry on. As we've talked about before, we anticipate that the publication of the supplemental final EIS will occur mid-next year. That will also, we're anticipating that our amended record of decision and conclusion of our Section 4F process would also conclude around that same time. And those are our next environmental review milestones that need to conclude before the project could move forward into construction and finalizing the design as well. Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Any questions? Go ahead, Dr. Watson.
Okay, so is there a process, or how do you determine what's a priority for mitigation? Does it have to do with cost, impact to community? What makes the cut?
Chair, committee members, part of the answer to that question will need to be informed by outreach. So that is one of the questions that we will be posing, from a range of potential mitigation options. We need to make those decisions informed by community priorities, and as we've talked about the terminology of co-creating, not making those decisions in a vacuum. So yes, of course, cost is a consideration, but as we pick and choose between different pathways, that will be something that we will want to have continued outreach. So that may, I think in this CMC space, as well as our BAC and CAC committees, you'll see us talking about our mitigation options there, as well as other community outreach that would probably be mostly tailored to the affected communities. So where we need to define commitments related to business support during construction, that would entail outreach to businesses in the corridor, as an example.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kelsey? All right. Thank you so much, and I really get the nuance that we're shifting into a phase of mitigation, putting the measures together, so that's just something we'll be hearing about along the way. Now with the anti-displacement report, I know Ricardo is kind of under the weather, so not here, but we have Eric Gustafson from Hennepin County who can tell us how we're doing with the anti-displacement efforts and the we don't call it a team, a committee, whatever we call it, the advisory group that's established now.
It's a board, right?
Now
It's a board.
That's
I
right.
think it's a formal.
Thank you, Chair Zelli. So, yeah, I got a blessing from Ricardo, who's unable to attend, to share a little bit about the board's work. But just kind of zooming out, wanted to share that the county has continued to move forward with planning and activities to support the outcomes identified in that anti-displacement work group report that was published about a year and a half ago now. And so together with the Met Council and the cities of Brooklyn Park, Crystal, Robbinsdale, Minneapolis, and the Minneapolis Park Board, we're developing a coordinated action plan that was referenced a few minutes ago for anti-displacement. And it's a compilation of programs and activities supporting the strategies and outcomes identified in that anti-displacement work group report. It includes, in fact, almost 70 existing and proposed programs and initiatives for action by the public agencies and by others. And over 50 of those programs and initiatives already exist and can be adapted to address the needs of corridor communities. The draft plan is now under review by the Anti-Displacement Community Prosperity Program Board. And as was referenced a few minutes ago, we'll be publishing that for public review and comment next week. So please watch for that. And in the meantime, the county is advancing anti-displacement planning and implementation. This week, for example, we convened, we had held 2 convenings of workforce development providers who are going to be helping to train and place corridor residents into job opportunities, such as those provided by the Light Rail Development Project. And we anticipate other corridor governments are doing similar work to move forward with their own programs, plans, and initiatives that are identified in that coordinated action plan. You may also recall that we worked with the community to successfully lobby for a $10 million allocation from the legislature, and we're really excited to support the new Anti-Displacement Community Prosperity Program Board created by that legislation. That board has met 3 times, in fact met 3 times by August 1st, as required, you may recall. And they're currently working to identify priorities and develop the processes that they'll need to get that 10 million and the matching dollars out on the street as soon as possible. And of course, this action is so important, as was mentioned, the engagement with our federal leaders, so that action by the individual agencies and getting that money out onto the street will be really important to demonstrate progress as we continue to lobby for additional resources to support the work. So that's what I had today, Chair Zelli, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Eric. Any questions, comments? Irene?
Thank you. I've not been a part of the Community Prosperity Board, because of course I'm not on it, but it is really, really impressive to see what I've understood to be the progress since the close of legislative session. So I just want to thank all of the members who are a part of that. I want to clarify that I believe Hennepin County is meant to kind of administer or staff the board, but it is a board that is its own board.
Community-led.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a community-led board. And so I know I've mentioned this to some members. As the board is determining its asks or proposals or platforms or the coordinated plan, I just wanted to say publicly that Hennepin staffing is different than a Hennepin policy choice. And I just wanted to offer that clarity because I needed it too. And then last thing I'd say is out of the 70 proposals, or 70 recommendations, 50 were already in existence in some manner in our municipalities and governments. So where we can do work, I think the anti-displacement feedback is not unique to displacement that occurs just from transportation. And so I'm just really hopeful that this type of kind of multi-municipality coordination is going to result in streamlined and faster results for residents, right? Like, that's what's so tough about government feedback. We ask for feedback, a resident provides it, and then like 8 years later, literally, actually, no, it can't be on the corridor. You know, I mean, that's truly accurate for this project. And so I know that I have been pushing Hennepin staff, perhaps, you know, in a very vocal or persistent manner, I would say, around for the programs that we are already doing, right? We're already doing a bunch on whether it's workforce, like you suggest, like you referenced, or affordable housing. Can we focus that to this corridor? Again, I'm just sharing what I'm saying to Hennepin. Commissioner Lundy and I authored an amendment a couple years ago, for example, where we took an existing program that Hennepin already does, Elevate Hennepin, and then we had more funds just for this corridor's outreach. So I know that it's not the same, of course, because the county has a different overlay on the corridor than the municipalities, and I just wanted to uplift the 50 out of the 70 recommendations already kind of being in existence somewhere, and uplift that this is a independent board. It's a legislature established board that has its own, will have its own bylaws, will have its own functioning. And so I think Dr. Watson's point about, can the BAC, I don't want to take words, but that makes sense. It is a connected board to this work, but it is its own legislature established board. So I'm very, very eager and excited to be responsive to what that board brings forward as its earlier priorities, and obviously want to make sure that we are really connected as local governments and local and the regional body here. So a lot of comments, more than questions, and a
No.
lot of wait and see, since the formal document isn't published yet. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
That's really helpful. Thanks. Commissioner Lundy.
Yeah, probably no questions, it's all comments and hearing. I just want to, commend the board, the community. There's lots of questions and not everybody has every answer. That's the city, that's the county, that's the state. There's different pieces and I know communities like, I just want answers. And so I think that as this process goes, you can't get more than 2 steps ahead of your partner. And so you're like, oh, where's the money? Okay, here's the money. Where's the process? Okay, work on the process. And I think as long as we always consistently and constantly go back to community and keep driving, everything goes back to them. And okay, we got money, now what? About process, now what? And I think that you think about all these different connections, but we're all unified by the idea that transit's important, that this line has it. And I think about what's happening on the line that are not connected but happening because of the line. If you start at the north and you talk about on 610 Takeda Pharmaceuticals, some of those international companies have made a plan to be on transit very specifically, and they'll tell you that, and they will this fall when they're going to talk about why they chose to be on the light rail line. Then you can go down to, I think, at Brooklyn Park, the teen homeless shelter. It's not by accident that it's a block away from the transit hub. You talk about Robbinsdale, we talk about the veterans homeless shelter right across from the police station. It is a couple blocks from transit. You keep the community dental, which just opened up a couple weeks ago in Crystal. Kudos to the city of Crystal. Near transit, these things are not accidental. And I think, but no one person can say, well, we did them all. It's each little piece. And I think that if there's hope, that's that we're unified by this vision and that community has to be continued, but back to the table. And I always think that we don't want to get ahead of community and say, wow, why haven't we done this? Well, because we haven't asked community yet. And until we do, we shouldn't jump ahead of them. And so it can be a kind of a start-stop situation, kind of like my grandfather's old tractor, right? It would stop for a while and start. And then, but that's just how things work. And I think that process can be sometimes messy, but I think the fact that we are talking about anti-displacement as part of the CMC, which I believe is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've done that as part of that is elevating that so that we're constantly putting it in favor of that. And so I just want to give credit to all involved because it takes all of us in our own each way with our own each tools to drive this forward.
Yeah, I really appreciate these comments, and I think you put your finger on this, something that's new, that part of it is established already in various places. Some of it's brand new. And I think for Met Council, it's actually an interesting learning opportunity when we think about our anti-displacement strategies across the region. I mean, this isn't the only transitway with some of these issues. So, we have to kind of be thinking about what can be done. We've got very excited about it, but know that it can be frustrating as well on the way. Go ahead.
So Chair and committee members, the city of Minneapolis is excited about the work coming out of this board. It's an opportunity for the city, Hennepin County, Metropolitan Council, private partners, and philanthropic organizations to come together and align values and shared goals of ensuring that the existing residents and the businesses benefit from this project and thrive. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Any other comment? Dr. Watson.
I know Commissioner Lundy had touched on it a little bit, but 2 things that came out of our meeting was that there be business and community engagement to understand the needs of the businesses and community, and that there be intentional planning before the funding and resources are available so that the funding gets into the hands of the businesses and community.
Fine. Any other comments, questions? All right, well, thank you, Eric. We will stay tuned. Now, we're going to hear a presentation on the municipal consent process, and Nick's been immersed in this work with his various hats I won't name them all, but appreciate your telling us where we are.
Chair, committee members, thanks. We'll just wanted to provide a brief update because we're entering a new process. We spoke at the last CMC about municipal consent, the statute, how it works, so I won't go into that too much, but I'm happy to answer more questions. But since that last CMC, we've officially submitted the design plans to each of the cities as required. We submitted those on July 26th and to Hennepin County. And so those are now available electronically and physically. We've also made them available at several locations within the corridor, including libraries for the public to review if they would like. And they're available online. So once we submitted that on the 26th, that starts our calendar that we talked about. The Met Council and Hennepin County Regional Rail and Hennepin County Board passed the date for the public hearing on August 26th at 6 p.m. So that'll be the required public hearing of the Met Council and Hennepin County Regional Rail at North Point. That begins at 6 p.m. And then each of the cities and Hennepin County has conveyed to us at least what they believe will be their process for public input in their community. We have the dates on this chart here. Orange, there's usually a public hearing and sometimes that plus an open house. And then the final action is where each city in the county would take action related to municipal consent listed in the green circle. Now, you don't have to remember any of this. We have it all consolidated on the project website with the times and the locations of each of these in each of the cities. And so but we do get a lot of questions about this in the community, about where, especially if you're a resident of one of the cities, what is the time you can provide your public input in your city. So these are firmed up now, and we would hope to complete the process. The last scheduled action would be October 2nd. So, as Dr. Watson had mentioned earlier, this seems like a very engineering process, and that it is. We are submitting engineering plans to each city in the county. So that is roughly the 30% design. It tells us where the stations are located, what we anticipate probably the property impacts will be, where the bridges are located, where the alignment goes. This is not at all in any sense the end of the process in collaboration. We got to this point by submitting the plans by meeting almost weekly with each of the cities to work out the designs. And so we felt that the designs were ready based on all the interaction we've had and the modifications we were going to make. But after this milestone process, we continue weekly meetings on the design. We sort of pivot to real design-related issues. As our engineering team goes, we go from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. That's where we start figuring out exactly what's all the way down underground, utilities, all of those design plans. And so they're very technical design plans. We again ask for official comments from the city and the county and other affected parties at the 60% design and at the 90% design. So these designs will continue to evolve. Those other comment periods are just engineering steps. They're not statutory steps, but they are very important steps to influence the outcome. And then continuing coordination as we get through construction also. So we're at this milestone. There's a lot, essentially 5 public hearings coming up where the public has an opportunity to provide input to either the boards of the county, Met Council, or the cities. And so we're really starting now, effectively now that the public comment period for SDEIS is over, we've started the communication and marketing about this process. Try to get the public to understand what this process is and what it is not. And so our newsletters are starting to explain this process. Materials are going out. Direct mailings will be going out to residents within a limit, notifying them about the public meetings. So there's going to be a very intentional effort in the next few weeks to notify the public about their opportunity and what this opportunity is. So we anticipate a good discussion and look forward to, finalizing any issues with each of the cities in the county before they make their decision that they have before them. And so I'll stand for any questions on that.
Any questions? Mayor? Flanagan.
I notice on your second page after, or the first page after the title page, Robbinsdale is TBD, to be determined as far as public hearing. We do have what we're calling a LRT work session, so you should contact our staff to verify this on Wednesday, October 25th, from 6 to 8 p.m.
August or?
August.
Okay.
Yeah, from 6 to 8 p.m. So we're not calling it a public hearing. I think it's more of a walking, taking input, maybe back and forth situation rather than sitting at the dais and listening to people say things. But verify that with the staff.
Yep, I believe we have a meet with your staff next week, and we'll confirm that and get that website updated, so appreciate that.
Good.
Right. Any other questions, thoughts?
Chair.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eva.
Thank you. Nick, I understand that letters are going out to the cities along the corridor with Met Council offering support on their public hearings and how they are doing their outreach. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. If you should be seeing that soon, if it's not already in your email.
Great, thank you. That's an important point. All right, so that we're in the middle of it. Unless there's any other questions, the one question before us right now is because we're in the middle of this kind of public engagement, back and forth, city process, we have our next meeting scheduled for September 12th. We'll probably still be in the middle of it. I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot to report. But we could meet or meet on October 10th, which would be the next meeting. So that's kind of up to all of us and staff. I don't know, Nick, if you have an opinion.
Chair, committee members, yeah, I think it'll be up to the board. We don't have any urgent items yet, but maybe we wait a week or two in case something comes up through the process, and we can. It's on everybody's calendars, I believe, and but it will take the direction of the board.
Let's hold it.
Yeah, I don't think we should cancel it this moment.
Right.
But as it gets closer, I mean, that's kind of max levy time for all of the locals. Like there's a lot happening in that time period. So if, we love having an early release like this from time to time, but if there really isn't a true reason for us to convene, then we should respect people's time, is my opinion.
I think that's fair. I mean, let's just hold it on our calendars, but know that we might, we don't want to take your time if it's not necessary. That's a good way to say it. All right, anything else for the good of the order while we're all together? All right, well, I really want to thank our presenters. Appreciate everybody. It's a beautiful day, so having 45 minutes is always a wonderful thing.
Meetings never end early. Bye.
This project is so far on time and ahead of schedule. With that,
Oh,
but just this day.
okay. Well, the project will be on time and ahead of schedule.
This meeting's adjourned.
That was